Hi, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our council meeting for June 16th, 2020. Council, you see before you the kit, and I believe there is one briefing note, is that right? Outside of the kit that may have come from Public Works, I think late this afternoon. So with that in mind, I'll accept the motion for the agenda, moved by Councillor Stoyles and seconded by Councillor Power. All in favor of the agenda? And those opposed, carried. Thank you so much. The next thing is the minutes of June 2nd, 2020, 2 weeks ago. We're looking for errors or omissions first. Council, I know you've all read the package, but I'll give you another few seconds or minutes if you need it. And then we'll call for adoption of those minutes. All right. I'm going to have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes from June 2nd, moved by Councillor Ledwell and seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? And contrary-minded, carried. Thank you very much. Business arising, please quote the item number either in the action report or from the minutes, please.
Your Worship.
Councillor Randall. Aye.
Item number 133. Jason, I noticed, I just was talking to a resident just a few minutes ago before I even came to this meeting. And she's asking, what's the status on Hotel Mount Pearl? She's quite concerned that hasn't been removed yet, and she's seen it from her back deck daily. Do we have any update on that, Jason, please?
Okay, Councillor, Your Worship, as you know, there was an order issued. That order has since been appealed, and due to that, it's kind of almost a stop work for either side, so nothing can be done right now. We have reached out as staff to Municipal Affairs, to the appeal board, and to get a legal opinion on what can be done. And we're in the process of going that route, and I hope to provide an update to council at the next meeting. So staff have reached out various avenues to figure out the best way to proceed as we speak.
Just one quick question, Jason. One of the resident was wondering, is that being stopped because of hazardous materials? Or would you know that?
Is that what's been appealed, do you mean? I'm not sure.
The resident was wondering if that's not being torn down because of this hazardous materials in the building.
I think it's fair to say it's a two-part demolition process where hazardous materials have to be remediated before the final demolition occurs.
The last, as you were with council, was through the lawyer of the property owner. They were waiting on some test results, and that was the last piece that the city was provided.
Thank you. So we'll hear something within the next couple of weeks, I guess.
I would suggest before next council meeting. Yeah,
it's a real, Councillor Antle, it's a real eyesore. And I think we need to keep working, with staff as well as with the owner of the property to get what remains of the building. We got to get it down.
We have many residents there on the back of Avery Place that are quite concerned. They see that every day. Thank you.
Final thoughts, folks, from the June 16th meeting. Okay, I'll move on now to the next part of the meeting. Oh, please. I'm sorry, Councillor Fry. The floor is yours. Go right ahead.
I was muted, so it's my my mistake. Number 141, bulk garbage. Just for the information of public, I know in the last meeting we talked about bulk garbage will be commencing, and as of yesterday passed, I know we're taking appointments for bulk garbage from residents. Councillor Antle, I'm just wondering how that's going. Not Councillor Randall, Director Randall.
I was thinking it was Director Randall, but I was wanting to be sure. So, Councillor Fry, it's been a busy couple of days.
Yeah.
We have, as council may be aware, we have Mondays for our bulk scheduled appointments. Our bulk appointments. Monday appointments have almost been taken up now. So. This afternoon, I think we've only had probably 30 or 40 appointment slots left. So we are now considering the next measure as to how we meet those demands. And we'll talk to you guys, I think, privately about that, but some ideas that we have.
Awesome. So just for the information of anybody watching, they could call 748-1016 for an appointment.
Question. Question.
Please, Councillor Stoyles, sorry, I'm trying to find the.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't know if you heard me or not. I had a call from a lady today about bulk garbage, and she tells me that when she called, July is filled up and they're booked up until August 10th now, and it's going fast. And some of the residents are very concerned that they're not going to get their bulk garbage picked up until probably the middle or end of August. And I think maybe we should bring it back to committee and have a chat about it, because that's a major concern. And I know there's not much we can do about it right now, but I know some people, I had it written down actually to talk about in committee the whole this evening, but seeing Councillor Freud mention it, I'd like the committee to take it back and have a look at it, because people are starting to have concerns about it being so late that they got to wait. It's not July now, it's August, and probably the middle or end of August before, if they can get picked up at all.
That's a very good point. I love the idea, discussion in committee of the whole, as well as referral back to committee. I think the intention of council is to try to meet the demand. It's to do it using an appointment basis the summer. That way we can do some vetting when it comes to the material that may have to get picked up. But I don't think we want to leave too many of our residents. I don't think we want to leave any resident without the opportunity to pick up bulk garbage.
Your worship, if I could, sorry to cut you off at the end there, your worship, if I could just say something there. Of course, very happy to bring it back to committee and discuss it in Infrastructure and Public Works Committee at Councillor Stoyles' suggestion. I also had a resident contact me about bulk garbage today, and I had a conversation with Director Antle. It is accurate that the appointments are backed up, or I won't say backed up, they're scheduled until into August. However, there is some consideration already being given to perhaps looking at other options to get this done a little bit quicker for some residents. So I guess there'll be some internal discussion with staff. I guess there'll be some discussion at committee level, and undoubtedly now at the committee of the whole level as well. But you know, there are things being looked at. So I just want to assure council and residents that that is the case.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anything else before we move to proclamations? All right, proclamation. The first one is Municipal Awareness Day, which is June 24th, 2020. Whereas municipal government is responsible for the provision of services that enhance the quality of life of its citizens, and whereas dedicated members of council and staff are essential for the effective governance of their municipalities, and whereas citizen involvement is essential for an active community, and whereas it is fitting and proper to recognize and encourage the contribution of all who work diligently for the improvement of our municipalities. Therefore, be it proclaimed that June 24th, 2020 be known as Municipal Awareness Day in municipalities of Newfoundland and Labrador, in recognition of the vital role of municipal government and in recognition of all those efforts that support it. And I'm going to sign that here in the city of Mount Pearl on behalf of my colleagues. Would anybody like to comment? And I guess some of the context here is next week has Municipal Awareness Day. This week is National Public Service Week. And I think, Councillor Fry, you always take a big interest in both of these days and these weeks. Would you like to comment?
I do, and I certainly would. You know, we have such an incredible group of people working with our city, and they do so much, and they make all of our services top notch. And you know, we have a reputation for such services as snow clearing and other things in our trails, and it's because of our staff that we can brag about these things. And far too often they're taken for granted. And I really like to have days like this, like Municipal Awareness Day and National Public Service Week, where we can bring attention to those people who work so hard, and just to thank you and to acknowledge all of their hard work. So to all of our staff and to public servants on all levels of government, you know, municipal, provincial, federal, happy National Public Service Week.
Thank you very, very much. Any further comments on that or Municipal Awareness Day?
Your worship, if you wouldn't mind, I wouldn't mind having a few words.
Yes, please, Councillor Power, go ahead.
It's fitting, I think, to Councillor Fry's point that we recognize, of course, our city staff for the hard work that they've put in, especially this year in 2020, which, as we all know, has been a challenging one. And we've certainly rose to that challenge with our city staff and our services. We all know how proud we are of the work that our city staff does within the city of Mount Pearl. And I think we thought we were done when it came to Snowmageddon, and we got through that crisis in fine style, only to be served then with a worldwide pandemic. So hats off to everybody at the city of Mount Pearl for all their hard work over the last number of months. And I know that the hard work and dedication will continue into the remainder of 2020. I also, as Councillor Fry had mentioned, wanted to recognize all levels of government. I believe that our federal government has certainly led by example in certainly setting the tone, especially with the pandemic, and offering assistance right across Canada to all of the provinces and all of those who are currently dealing with out of work situations and whatnot. We're all slowly, as we move through the alert levels, getting back to some sort of normal. And I know it will be a new normal, but we have our leaders to thank for that. They have certainly led us through yet another crisis. So hats off to everybody in the public service. And I know that at the municipal level, Municipal Awareness Day is certainly one that we'll celebrate 100% this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very good. Anybody else want to comment? All right, the next one is the Newfoundland and Labrador Brain Injury Association's proclamation, and June is Brain Injury Awareness Month. And whereas June is Brain Injury Awareness Month, and the theme this year is All Brains Are Beautiful, and whereas the Newfoundland and Labrador Brain Injury Association developed in 1984 and advocates for brain injury survivors to enhance their lives. The association identifies the needs of survivors, their families, and friends by advocating for quality care and services and improving public awareness of brain injury through education. And whereas due to the pandemic, a virtual walk, ride, or run of participants who register to raise brain dollars will be featured during the month by submitting their activity to display on the NLBIA website and social media. Plus, a virtual brain baker sale will be hosted on social media for bakers to sell their homemade goods, donating a portion to the organization during the month of June. And whereas the Newfoundland and Labrador Brain Injury Association and our theme, All Brains Are Beautiful, will raise much needed funds and awareness of our programs and services while we celebrate each brain injured survivor, to emphasize that anyone can experience a brain injury, and all brain injury survivors endure ongoing challenges from this significant life-changing event. Whether major or minor, all are beautiful and deserve the treatment to enjoy every day of their life. Therefore, on behalf of the City of Mount Pearl, I, on behalf of my colleagues on council, proclaim that June 1st to the 30th, 2020 is Brain Injury Awareness Month, and encourage all individuals in Mount Pearl to embrace that all brains are beautiful. And I sign that on behalf of my colleagues and invite anybody here at the meeting today to make Deputy Mayor Locke.
Thank you, Your Worship. I know that Marina White, Miss White, is the president here, and she's a Mount Pearl resident, and she's a strong advocate. I always remember when she did the demonstration down at their skate park with the watermelon, and I think they gave out some helmets to the residents down there, and the impact on the melon by just a short drop, and it was just a great reminder about people to wear their helmets to protect their brains. So I'm proud to support this. It's a great initiative. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. Don't see any other hands up. We're going to move off to committee reports, and the first one will be Infrastructure and Public Works, and I'm looking for, I believe, Councillor Ledwell. Sir, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'll take the first part of our report, and we've got that item outside of Kit that you mentioned earlier. I'll cover the first few items on the report, and I'll turn it over to Councillor Stoyles for that outside of Kit item, as well as the remainder once I'm done. The first item that we have, Your Worship, is to do with a contract recommendation, and it's to do with some professional consultant services for a study that we're about to do on some pedestrian walkways, underpasses in our city. As council is no doubt aware, there are a total of 8 underpasses in the city, 3 of which have been buried, and therefore one cannot pass through them. There are 5 that are active and in use. A review recently of the condition of these overpasses determined that there were in fact 3 that were perhaps in need of some repair and some remediation to get them up to a standard that we would accept as safe and good for use within the city of Mount Pearl. The 3 particular underpasses that are in the city that we're looking at here are, according to the map in your kit, we have the underpass under Smallwood Drive between what I'll say is Ashford Drive and Fairweather Avenue. The one that goes underneath Old Placentia Road that sort of links Ashford Drive and the area of the Prograte Track and Field, as well as the one that goes underneath Richard Nolan Drive in the area of Carroll and Yetman Drive over in that part of the city. So we've allocated some funds to conduct this study and to do the work that may fall out of the study that's required. This first part is just a request for proposals to actually conduct some consulting services and do a review and analysis of the condition and determine what needs to be done. Also determine what cost would be involved and what would be the most cost efficient and effective manner to go about conducting the work that's needed. So we put this out. It closed on February 28th, 2020. And further to some discussion at a recent committee of the whole meeting, we are recommending that we proceed with the most appropriate bidder, that being Dillon Consulting Limited. They are the highest compliance proponent, and the cost of their bid is $65,211, HST included, and it is within our budget for this particular piece of work. We've reviewed this as committee and see no reason why we wouldn't proceed, so we put it forward to council tonight for recommendation, and I so move.
Thank you, sir. It is moved by Councillor Ledwell and seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Any comments about this transaction, council? So hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor? And anybody opposed? No, it is carried. Thank you, sir.
Okay, our next item, Your Worship, is to do with Topsail Road and some asphalt renewal that we are proposing to do. We put out a request for a contract here to do some asphalt renewal between Coruscant Drive on Topsail Road there, the intersection of Coruscant and Topsail, right over to where it intersects with Farrell Drive. Council, in our budget discussion, as you'll recall, we were concerned about some of the condition of some of the sections on Topsail Road, and certainly wanted to do something to address that area in our plan for this year. We put out the request for proposals here. It closed on May 15th of 2020. We received 5 proposals, and we're proposing to go with the proponent who achieved the highest overall score with the in the review by our engineering services staff. That was Modern Paving Limited. They achieved a score of 93.5 out of 100. And the proposed price is $726,688.68, HST included, and it is within our budget. So we view this as an important work, certainly as a committee. We think council does as well. So we bring it forward as a recommendation tonight, and I so move.
Again, it is, thank you. It is moved by Councillor Ledwell and seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Councillor Ledwell or Director Antle, doing an RFP for roadwork paving, this is a bit of a change over, I guess, the way we've traditionally always tendered. How are the contractors feeling in terms of this process? I know it adds value to the city and that there's much more included than just the actual work itself. Any thoughts or comments? Because we had 5 strong bids here. It looks like it's the process was very competitive.
Your Worship, I'll jump in for a second, but ultimately I think I'll refer to Director Antle. I would expect that due to the current pandemic that we're dealing with, I expect that the market is probably not what it may otherwise be, on a normal year without a pandemic, if you will. So perhaps there is a desire for some of the contractors to get some work. I think we're getting some competitive prices as well. So the condition of the market being what it is in this year being what it is, I think perhaps this is indication that there are some contractors out there who are looking for work. But I'll defer to Director Antle. I don't know if I'm on base or off base, if you will. He can certainly correct me if I'm wrong.
Councillor
Thank you, sir.
Councillor Little, you're very much on base, and thank you, Your Worship. The design build process and the RFP process has been working well for the city of Mount Pearl in our experience. This is an example of that. The bids this time, yes, I think it is to do certainly in the midst of COVID, and the nature of construction activity now is not as significant as might have been in the past. So it's work that's overdue in some respects, that we need to deal with those conditions on tops of the road. So it's work that I think is going to be started fairly soon if council approves.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? And contrary-minded? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Okay, the last item for me, Your Worship, before I turn it over to my colleague, is to do with another contract recommendation, and this one is related to St. David's Avenue. This is the second phase of some work that we're doing over there over the past year or two. This is phase 2 of the 2019 street reconstruction for St. David's, as I said. It closed on June 1st of 2020. We received 6 bids in this case. And once again, we're proposing to go with the lowest qualified bidder, which in this case, once again, was Modern Paving. The bid price is $851,245.24, HST included. It is within budget. Just some notes on the scope of the work. It is to install a new 200 millimeter ductile iron water main on St. David's Avenue from Roosevelt to Commonwealth. Some installation of some new storm sewer connection and a new second catch basin on the Legion parking lot. The addition of some water and sanitary laterals, that's going to be used to accommodate perhaps a public washroom at the St. David's Park facility. The installation of some new asphalt on St. David's Avenue from Roosevelt to Commonwealth. And finally, the installation of some new concrete sidewalk ramps and curb at the Legion parking lot. That will include some accessible ramps, which we all recognize is certainly important in that area of our city. So that's what we're proposing to do with the $851,245.24 to be awarded to Modern Paving, and I so move.
Second.
It is moved by Councillor Ledwell and seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Council, any questions with regards to this award? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And those opposed? And that motion is carried. Thank you very much, everybody.
I'll turn it over now to Councillor Stoyles for the remainder of our report and the piece that's out of kit.
Thank you very much. We have the Public Works update, which is information which we are now accepting yard waste, which anybody has yard waste, I guess anything that they had left over from, I guess, winter leaves and things like that, we're in the process of picking it up. Appointments, as we mentioned earlier, for bulk garbage is already started, and people have been calling and getting their dates to have the bulk garbage picked up. Our electric vehicle is now in operation, and I imagine a number of you have seen it on the go. We're using it in a lot of different ways. I know when we had our committee meeting, the director mentioned that water sampling, and that especially where they go to different locations, is being used definitely in many areas in the city, but especially with water testing. And of course, all the other work continues: catch basins, manholes, and asphalt repairs, and street sweeping. All of our grass cutting, our maintenance and everything is underway. And our capital works tender is being repaired. Badcat Place closed on June 26th, and the package is being prepared. And of course, a number of other design contracts, the phases are being done. The Glacier, the work is ongoing. 2020 street markings work has started on May 29th, and work is ongoing, and hopefully we will have the first spring lines completed by June 30th. And Topsail Road and Black Marsh Road infrastructure, is continuing doing the defaults on this. 4th Street, the upgrading, repair and construction, they're putting the final phase on 4th Street. And yeah, of course, hopefully we'll be finished by June 21st, depending on the weather. Glendale Avenue and Bradley Place and is still on the go, and hopefully work will be finished by August on that. And Madeline Paving is doing some work on the lights and the upgrading and the concrete islands, and that Black Marsh Road upgrade phase 2 permanent construction is in the process of doing that. Crack seal, Crown is working on that, and that should be expected to be done by July 4th, weather depending. And Sunrise Avenue, the deficiencies is on that. Now, I'm gonna close my thing. I guess the one we're talking about that was outside the kit is Newfoundland Power, right? Am
One
I
second.
correct?
Just
Yes,
a,
please. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Antle.
just a question there, Councillor Stolz or Director Antle. I had a resident call me there last week asking about our street lines. And just to clarify, the street lines, the crosswalks, they will be repainted as they were last year. That's correct?
That's correct.
Just so, if there was a crosswalk last year, it'll be a crosswalk this year. It's just we haven't got around to it yet. Is that right?
I'm not aware of any changes in our line marking in that sense, so we might not be in some places with crosswalks just yet. We are going to do things like the rainbow crosswalks as well. I know some people are interested in those, of course. But yeah, we are right now, the contractor is working on most of the intersections, crosswalks, arrows and what have you. And the truck that does the line painting, that does the center lines and lane marks, is scheduled to be here this coming weekend.
Thank you. That's perfect. Thanks.
Your Worship, I had a couple of questions on Councillor Stoyle's
Please.
report
Deputy.
there. The first had to do with we're accepting yard waste. And I know I had questions from some residents about using these paper bags. And I think one of our councillors brought that up before. So just to confirm, Director Antle, that if we have leaves and sticks and yard waste, we will be picking them up in paper bags, or because many people have bought these large paper bags for that very reason. They're trying to avoid plastic, so they see it as more environmentally friendly. So is it correct to say that they will be picked up in these paper bags?
Deputy Mayor Locke, we will pick it up. We would prefer that people use the clear bags. We would also ask people that our biggest concern is, in some cases, sometimes people might put household garbage in other bags, and we want to get household garbage inside our carts for lots of reasons about environmental and picking up the waste and what have you. But we would pick it up if it's in paper bags.
Okay, so that's the point that they want to clarify. So thank you for that. And also, Director Antle, I noticed that they're doing the island up there at the corner or the intersection of Old Placentia and Smallwood Drive, the Smallwood Drive extension, as us older residents of Mount Pearl would call it. So they're going back with the colored concrete, which looks beautiful. I did notice that in some areas, residents asked about the pavement that we had put in some islands, but that was just a temporary fix. And we will be going back with concrete. But the question from some residents is, will the colored concrete be used in all the major intersections where work is being done, or is it just limited to a few?
The colored concrete at those intersections is the ones that we have scheduled to do this year. As we do additional intersections across the city, as we do our upgrading, it would be our intent to consistently use the same color.
Okay, so the pavement is just temporary. That was a temporary measure over the winter months, and we're now getting to restoring all of our intersections with concrete.
That's exactly right.
Perfect. Thank you, Director. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank
Your
you.
Worship. Sorry,
Yes.
Your Worship.
Oh, yep, no worries.
I just had a follow-up question to Deputy Mayor Locke's point about the yard waste. So Director Antle, can you clarify, so does a separate truck go around to collect yard waste?
Councillor Power, yes, there is a separate truck. We go back, we either go ahead or behind our regular truck, because our regular truck with our arms, the automatic arms, they'll pick up the cart, and we have to manually collect the yard waste. So we ask residents to abide by our regulations in regards to weights and what have you to make sure that it's safe for us to collect.
Sure. And I guess to further clarify then, that yard waste gets deposited at a different location down at the waste management facility than just regular garbage?
In our case, in our city, we bring the yard waste, just like grass clippings, it goes to the regular landfill.
Okay, so does it get deposited as regular waste, or is do they have a targeted zone at the landfill that is for clippings only?
Not for our circumstances, no. We bring it directly to the landfill.
Okay, so it goes as garbage, essentially.
Yes, it does.
Okay, that helps clarify. So I guess just to be devil's advocate, does it matter if it's in a clear bag or not? If we're depositing it as general garbage, are we just trying to make sure that there's not, I guess, other contaminated items in? Is that the reason why we use the clear bags?
The main reason we ask people to use clear bags is so that we can generally see to make sure that there's not household garbage, because that's not what we want to see at the side of the cart. Yard waste and grass clippings does not draw any concern with regards to goals or what have you. So that's what we try to achieve. And then that's picked up, then it's regular garbage. If people can, we ask people to take yard waste or clippings, if there's room in the cart, to put it in the cart. If not, on the outside.
Okay, but it still goes to the same garbage pile down at the landfill.
Yeah, yes, it does. This year, for council's information, you may recall at some point, we purchased this year a new wood chipper. We haven't been able to get it into operation this year, but it is our plan. Outside of COVID, and if we can get safety procedures in place, it is our plan to use the wood chipper to pick up things like larger branches and what have you, so we can actually chip that and save that and use that in our parks for mulch and what have you. So that is our plan.
That's a great idea. Thanks so much for the clarification.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to finish off with the final item in our committee, which is the Newfoundland Power application permit. And of course, after the last public meeting and work started on Smallwood Drive, we received a number of calls and a number of concerns. Actually, there even ended up being a petition on the go, and my understanding it was 263 people signed that petition. So the city has contacted Light Power, has written them, and on June 10th, and asked them to stop work on the poles and that on Smallwood Drive. And the city now is currently working with Light and Power to look at what they're doing, and I guess how it's going to alter it with the residents and the businesses. And further information will be coming in the upcoming weeks, but just wanted to say that I also received a number of calls from the residents from Smallwood Drive again, and was very happy that we are taking these steps to consider and listen and hear what the residents have to say. So I'm looking forward to public consultation with this. I recommended this at last public meeting. So, and of course I voted against Light and Power moving forward with this proposal. So I'm delighted to see that this is taking place. And this is, I don't think we need a minute, it's more or less just to inform the residents of Mount Pearl that this has stopped work. And I'm getting emails in all the time, and I keep losing my my words because I got two devices going, and both of them I can't open up emails. So, and I'm getting emails from different people, from council, from the mayor, and different people who are responding. And for some reason, it's coming up on my thing, and then my machine is my iPad is going off because it's showing up the messages that's coming in. So it's hard to. I'm not going to be able to open up the messages when I'm on both devices. Just wanted to say that for the record, because if you send me an email and I'm already in on the public meeting, I can't get it. I don't know if you can. I can't get it. Anyway, just wanted to say that. Anyway, So I just want to say again that I'm delighted that we are going to be listening to the residents and keeping an open mind with what they're looking at doing down on Smallwood Drive. And I'm looking forward to see what we can do to hear the residents, whether it's going to be a public forum in some way, or maybe a Zoom meeting, I don't know. But some of the residents certainly are a lot of seniors down there, and I understand a lot of them don't do Zoom and don't do meetings, but we can have groups of 20 at a meeting, so maybe we wouldn't get any more than that anyway. I'm delighted to see that this has stopped, and we will be listening to what people have to say. That's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stalls. And I love the way you put it, you know, an open mind to perhaps look at some of the options that are available on Smallwood Drive, and engaging with our residents to see, not so much that everybody's going to be happy, but to see what the best fit is when it comes to modernizing the electrical system in that particular area. Any further comments on that issue, Council?
Your Worship, I wouldn't mind just chiming in there. I think Councillor Stoyles certainly put it very concisely when she had expressed her concerns a couple of weeks ago. And I guess in light of that, and I believe hindsight is 20/20 in most instances, there's a reason why that saying is so widely used, of course. I believe that it is council's I guess, commitment to the residents that prevails in this case. And I do believe that we failed and came up a little bit short on the public engagement piece with respect to this project. And I'm delighted as well to see that we have put a pause on the project, and we're certainly going to engage all of the residents that are going to be affected by the upgrades when it comes to the actual change in the streetscape, as well as the upgrades to the area, especially with respect to the feeder station and how that's going to affect the reliability of service. So I think all angles need to be certainly looked at in this particular project. And again, I'm just pleased that council decided to put this project on hold until we get the appropriate feedback from our residents, because of course we know that their point of view certainly weighs in heavily on this matter. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you very much. Any other further comments before we move on? Okay, let's go to the Corporate Services and Economic Development Committee report. And I am looking for Councillor Antle or Power.
Councillor Power. I'm going to start with the invoices for approval, and then I will pass the reins over to my esteemed colleague, Councillor Antle. So invoices for approval on this committee report, we have listed there, of course, several invoices that come into the total of $245,322.06. We have a couple of, invoices that are a little bit higher. Callaway Construction, that's for cleaning services, understandable in terms of, wanting to make sure our facilities are cleaned with respect to the pandemic and making sure that we do our due diligence in that regard. That's $31,013.55. We have another couple of invoices there for Mills and Wright, and that's with respect to our city center project that we're currently doing right now, which I know all of council is very excited about. One of those invoices is $9,616.88, and the other is $11,278.63. And again, for a total of all invoices, 20 in all, for $245,322.06. And I so move that we accept these invoices as presented.
Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Power and seconded by Councillor Antle. Any questions, folks? Hearing none, I'll move it and call for a vote. All in favor? Those opposed? And it is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Power. And I'll move to the payment register for the period of May 28th to June the 11th for $695,579.22. And there's only a few there, and a couple of bigger ones is for the City of St. John's for $217,496.79. And that's for our water and our fire department. And there's also one there, which is good to see, for Spartan Fitness. I think we have some new machines going into the Summit Center for $39,115. And I so move.
No, no motion required. That's for information only.
I like moving things. So.
But it is open for questions and discussion, folks, if you see anything there, if you want to query. Hearing none, we'll move on now to the Community Development Committee report, and it's going to be tonight, Deputy Mayor LaLocke? No? Councillor Fry, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first on our agenda is the use of walking trails and parks and dog parks. Just a reminder to the public that when you take time to visit our beautiful scenic walking trails and parks, to keep in mind the social distancing and to follow the signage in place to ensure safety of all. Our staff have done a great job with signage, and it's great to see people out and about and using these facilities and being able to use these facilities. Speaking of dog park, the dog park is now open, and pet owners are asked to please keep the facility clean and follow all dog park rules and regulations. We can't stress enough to please continue to clean up after your pet throughout our walking trails and parks. You know, we have such beautiful trails and parks and greenery, and thank you to those who do clean up after their dogs, and hopefully everybody else will follow suit. Our sports fields and guidelines. Staff continue to work with sporting groups on their return to play and safe operating procedures to ensure the safety of all players and spectators for the sports that will be offered this summer. Of course, with COVID, it brings a whole new learning curve, and we're all working to navigate our way through it and find the best way possible. And with that, I'm going to pass it along to the Deputy Mayor to continue.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor Locke.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Fry. The next item for us, Your Worship, is the development permit listing for June 1st to the 12th of 2020. We're recommending that the following development permit be approved as presented for the period I just mentioned. So you can see we have two development permits there. Both dated for June the 11th, and I move that they be accepted as presented.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor and second by Councillor Fry. All in favor? And those opposed? Carried.
Next for us, Your Worship, is the building permit and occupancy permit listing, again for June the 1st to June the 12th of 2020. We're recommending that the building permits issued for the period from the 1st to the 12th, showing a total construction value of $3,255,828, that this amount be approved, and further that the occupancy permit list be accepted as presented, and I so move.
It is moved again by the Deputy Mayor and second by Councillor Fry. All in favor? Contrary-minded, and we are carried.
And that is it for our report, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We're going to do the round table. The note that I had today, Councillor Antle, I believe, is first this week. Go ahead, Mr. Councillor Antle.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I only have a few things. It's been a busy week. I think we all live on Zoom. It's been my every couple of days we have a Zoom meeting. So on the June the 15th, I had a meeting with the Northeast Avalon Joint Councils along with Eastern Health. It was a great meeting. It was a fast meeting. It seems like everything is moving forward as it should, and there were no surprises. Eastern Health told us that right now they're operating at 65% occupancy, I guess is what they would call it, but moving by the end of the week to be up to 100%. So that's good news. I mean, everything's moving well there. Another thing is I got a couple of calls, and maybe we all did, but I'm just for the benefit of our residents, about roaming cats within the city of Mount Pearl. It seems to be this week or the past couple of weeks, I'm getting a few calls about cats. Cats aren't allowed to roam the city of Mount Pearl. Cats are destroying people. People are having vegetable gardens planted and their flower beds. And maybe just a quick reminder that, if you have a cat, it's not allowed to roam the city. You got to keep it tied on or keep it in your backyard and fenced, and respect your neighbors. Last week I had a meeting on just a quick library update on the library board. Pat Watts gave me a quick update that the library right now, they're working with the provincial government for some kind of gradual resumption of services. And that's being reviewed now with the city. One of the things the library board is having an issue with is the no returns policy. And that just doesn't work for a library. you know, they have to have a returns policy. So right now they're working on some kind of option so they can start that. Safety is always first and foremost. And so they're trying to implement some kind of curbside services for the near future. So hopefully we'll see something when level 2 starts so we can get the library back up and running. I had a meeting with the food banks on June the 11th. That's with the community services, community churches. And right now, I'm looking at my notes. It was June the 11th. We're up over the $12,000 mark on the food banks. That ends at the end of June. And then they're not going to use GoFundMe anymore. I think Councillor Storrs mentioned a little while ago, GoFundMe wasn't really conducive to the community suppers. They're going to go back to do some kind of other thing from the churches or something like this. We're looking at some kind of doing a donation or a bigger donation, maybe with the city, however they can arrange that. And that's everything for me.
Thank you very much, sir. I guess we go right back to the top to the deputy mayor on my screen. Deputy Mayor Locke, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't have.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor. I believe it's Councillor Stoyles. I apologize, Councillor Stoyles. I'll get to you, Deputy Mayor.
I have no problem letting Councillor Stoyles go first, Your Worship. Not a problem at all. Over to you, Councillor Stoyles.
Thank you. I do have a few items. Want to mention the Mount Pearl Seniors Independence. They have received a grant for their summer student, and their summer student will be starting on June 28th for the residents of Mount Pearl. If you're a member, if you want to become a member of the Mount Pearl Seniors Independence, you have to be a member of the Seniors Independence, and they provide lawn work and odd jobs like painting small areas. Like they're not going to paint somebody's house, of course, but if somebody got a small area, a small patio or something that needs painted, or trim a few trees or something like that, there's only they only have a young person hired, so it's depending on within the rounds of what they're asked to do, but they will try and do whatever they can. And of course, usually they try and keep it within a limit of 2 hours or so, or maybe depends on the job. It could be a 3-hour thing, but so many people out there that needs their lawns done that they only try and keep it within a couple of hours per resident. So they're not expecting to go in and paint a big fence or anything like that, but they will do a few odd jobs. And lawn mowing is probably the biggest thing that they do. And if you need it done, there's only contact the Seniors Independence, anybody that's a member. Also want to mention that the Mount Pearl Connect Club had their Hearts campaign on the go back in April and May, and they had the closing meeting last week. They raised over $11,000, which was unbelievable in these trying times. $11,000, more than $11,000 was raised. All this money is staying in Mount Pearl. It's the Mount Pearl Connect Club. All this money will be there. They're going to be giving some money to the food banks. They're going to be helping individuals, seniors, and people like that. And over the next number of weeks, there's going to be a campaign where they're going to be given from the heart, and they're going to help not only seniors, but individuals in the community with gifts of kindness. So just want the people to be aware that this is coming, and we're looking forward to touching an awful lot of people in our community, especially the needy in the community, with gifts of kindness. So I know the Connect Club is very excited about it, and $11,000 is going to go a long ways with helping individuals. So I hope that if you're watching and you need a hand, that you will be touched by the hearts of the Connect Club of Mount Pearl. And last, I want to mention, Your Worship, was the Youth Opportunity Fund. I understand that Roger's family fund is giving them $25,000 donation. And the Youth Opportunity Fund it was, I guess, 12, 14 years ago, it was put in place, and it's helping all the different groups and youth groups out there. And an awful lot of people have benefited from the Youth Opportunity Fund. We have an awful lot of our volunteers involved in that, and wanted to say thank you to Rogers for that generous donation. And that's it for me, Your Worship.
Well done, well said, yes, and we're very grateful to the Ted Rogers Foundation, I think is the group that's making the donation, and it really comes out of our involvement with hometown hockey 2 years ago. Okay, now Deputy Mayor, back onto you, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Stoyles. Just further to the Youth Opportunity Fund, it is, as Councillor Stoyles said, I think it's an endowment fund left over from the summer games that were held in the city some years back. And I do know the impact that that has had. I know, for example, at the local high schools, I think O'Donnell received some funding for some green initiatives, like probably a greenhouse or something like that. And I do know a project was supported at Mount Pearl Senior High. It was called Huskies for Heroes and a Guitar Hero. So it allowed the school to purchase some guitars, acoustic guitars, so with the help and sponsorship of Junior Reed. And it involved the students teaching students how to play the guitar. So it's a great fund. It's a great opportunity there. And I'd encourage anyone who feels they may be eligible to certainly reach out for that. So that $25,000 contribution was certainly very generous, and it was very much appreciated. I just have two others because Councillor Stoyles touched on some of the ones I was going to bring to as well. The first, I received a complimentary email, this being, National Public Service Week and Municipal Awareness Week coming up next Wednesday. I just want to send out kudos and acknowledge one of the workers with IPW, Mr. Gary Lewis, and a business owner in Mount Pearl took the time to write an email. I did share it with council and our directors and CEO Mona Lewis, who the business owner was so appreciative of the extra efforts that Mr. Lewis went. Something to do with a valve shut off, and there was going to have to be some water cut off to the business owner. And he went above and beyond, according to this business owner, to reach out to make sure that the timing of the shut off wouldn't impact business. So it was very nice to receive, because as we all know, and the general nature is, people tend to be a little more motivated when they're upset to reach out and issue emails of complaint or concerns, and they're less likely to take the time to send out compliments. This was a very nice compliment. And again, I want to acknowledge Mr. Lewis, Gary Lewis, for the great work he does for the city. Also, Councillor Antle did speak about roaming cats. Councillor Antle, I did as well receive some emails about cats roaming in the area. I know I have an indoor cat, and he's one of the loudest cats I've ever heard, and he makes these funny noises. So I know when the neighborhood cat is on his territory, because he gets very territorial. So yes, it's not only the fact that they're using some children's sandboxes as a kitty litter, they're depositing their waste in people's vegetable gardens and flower beds, but I'd also like to acknowledge the fact that domestic cats have a very significant impact on songbird populations and the bird populations. And many people may not realize this, but your little fluffy, when they're out in the wild, they become a predator. So if you're interested to follow up on that, I know the Nature Things did a fascinating show one time on the impact on birds that domestic cats have. So again, I'm glad that Councillor Antle did bring up the fact that cats, are meant to be tethered if they're outside. And I know our former mayor, Randy Sims, always mentioned that he used to tether his cat on. His cat would wait to get the collar put on. So again, just a reminder, because it is impacting, the broader community. And that's it for me, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I want to issue a deep apology to Councillor Ledwell. Councillor, I'm sorry I missed you. I should have picked you up after Councillor Antle and before Councillor Stoyles, but I'm looking at a screen and I'm trying to visualize the room. So again, I'm very sorry. Councillor Ledwell, please.
Your Worship, I'm starting to wonder if you have something against me, if I'm being honest. But I do accept your apology. I don't have much to say this evening, only to say that, like others have done before me, I want to wish all of our staff, and indeed all public servants, a very happy Public Service Week, as well as a happy Municipal Awareness Day that's coming up in the coming days. It's a situation where, to be a public servant, you truly have to be a different kind of person, and it's a good different. It's a person who has a desire to help, a person who has a desire to work long hours to make sure others get the services that they need to live their lives in a comfortable fashion. So I'm fortunate enough both in my life as a counselor with the city of Mount Pearl, in working with our staff, but also in my professional life to work with some of the very best public servants in the business. And I'm proud to work with them each and every day. So to one and all, a happy Public Service Week and a happy Municipal Awareness Day next week as well. It's all well deserved for the great work that gets done.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, so I got to get this right. I believe the next one will be Councillor Fry. And again, Councillor Ledwell, my apologies. I sincerely mean that.
Thank you, Your Worship. So many things have already been said so well. I'm not going to repeat any of those, with the exception of the Mount Pro Connect's Hearts for Hope, because that is such a tremendous job they've done. I mean, it was a great idea under difficult circumstances, and everybody pulled together and made it happen. And $11,000 is not easy to raise in hard times. So a huge congratulations to the Mount Pro Connects Club. The other thing I wanted to mention is something of very, very much concern to me. And I have noticed lately on a lot of the community Facebook groups, a lot of vehicle theft. And I know in Powers Pond, it seems like every day somebody is posting a video from camera footage of somebody either getting into their vehicle or attempting to get into their vehicle. And I mean, that's a scary thought. And it's a difficult one to control, because when when our patrols are out and about, you can't really differentiate if somebody's just walking down the street unless you actually see them enter a vehicle. And I don't know what there is to do about it, but it's not just Powers Pond, it's other areas as well. And this is something, it's something concerning. And I wanted to bring it here tonight. I know that we will probably discuss it in committee, but this is a serious problem and our residents are concerned about it. And I think we need to seek the help of, I know our municipal enforcement officers are doing a great job, but I think we need to find a way to resolve this somehow. So I'm going to throw it out there now. Director Collins, do you have any suggestions? Like, do you think we could work with the RNC, at least in the the short term, to get this under control, because it is a serious issue and it is of concern to our residents?
Some very quick comments. We have been working with the RNC. It is an active investigation, so I can't release names and addresses, things like that. But there has been, to the point, there's been involvement with the RNC. There's been chases with alleged perpetrators. So it's very active. Staff are taking it seriously, and they're in constant communication with the RNC, just for the benefit of council and for the public. So it is very active, and the MEOs in particular have been taking it very seriously.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I guess something that we can recommend to our residents as well is to strengthen any neighborhood watch programs. And these Facebook groups are great because it gets the word out and gets the word out quick. But it is a serious problem, and I'm glad to see that that it's being addressed. Thank you.
But the neighborhood watch is a great comment, and encourage all neighborhoods to get yourself organized, reach out to the city, and the city will actually help walk you through the process. And we can certainly help when it comes to that as well. So
as long as residents keep their vehicles locked at night and watch out for each other, and our staff will be on it, then hopefully we'll be able to find a resolution to this difficult situation. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I was unmuting. Councillor Power, please. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a couple of things this evening. I just wanted to make mention of the fact that last week, June 8th to the 14th, was National Blood Donor Awareness Week in Canada. And I know that even at these times of the pandemic and restrictions and things that we're facing, our Canadian Blood Services is still accepting donations. I was there a couple of months ago, I guess. I'm due to go there in a couple of weeks again to make my blood donation every 84 days or so. And they are doing everything that they can to make the process as safe as possible. There was no issues. They are still doing what they can with regards to social distancing and, of course, disinfecting and things of that nature. So if you regularly donate, I guess this is just my public service announcement that they're still accepting donations. And you would probably know that as a regular blood donor. If you currently don't donate but want to, you can certainly reach out to them. And you can do an online survey to make sure that you're eligible before you go in advance. And then you can even book your appointment online once you get the all clear that you're eligible. So I would encourage everybody to think about donating blood. It takes about 5 to 6 donations to save a life. So you can only imagine how many donations they need. With respect to Brain Injury Month that we mentioned earlier, I also wanted to mention that June is also Stroke Month. And as we know, stroke is another form of brain injury. So I just wanted to recognize that. And as somebody who has personally been affected very closely by family members who have suffered a stroke in their lives, I know how very important it is for awareness and to know the signs of stroke as it affects you. And early intervention obviously is key. Recognizing the signs is key. So I would invite everybody to visit the Heart and Stroke Canada website and get some information with respect to stroke and recognizing the signs of stroke. You might save your own life or somebody else's. I also wanted to make mention that this coming Sunday is Father's Day. And I just wanted to wish all of the fathers out there a very happy Father's Day, including my own father, who I will likely be taking golfing. Thanks so much. That's all for me.
Oh, well said. Thank you very much. Well, I guess I have heard it all tonight, and it's been a good review of what's happened in the city the last 2 weeks. And on that note, I'm going to sign off with you, Council. I'll look for a motion to adjourn, and moved by Councillor Fry and seconded by Councillor Antle. And we'll resume Committee of the Whole at 6 p.m. tonight. Thank you very much, and good night.